like people are burned, man. This is like we got the guy who's gotten the lawsuit there for the full price of his unit. Once people find out about that, they're gonna be cautious to be, defaulting on some of these. Like it's a really, really, really serious situation.
Welcome.
Welcome, Darryl Frankfort.
Okay. TK Butler.
What is going on with you? So I sent you that assignment sale in Facebook, right? Where the guy was assigning that unit.
You
And
did?
yeah, and then remember he paid like 2 grand a foot, and then now he's
Oh
asking like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
1,800, and everyone's just like killing him in the comments.
What are
It's
you
like
doing, you
it's a
moron?
1 bedroom,
It's
right?
crazy. It's
Yeah. Well, that
crazy.
building though, like 2 Forest Hill.
To Forest Hill.
Yeah.
Well, I
Tell me.
mean,
Just a regular condo building
what's
on a good location.
it's not even the price that's the crazy thing there.
Yeah.
I mean, the crazy thing is that somebody bought it to not move into themselves. Like people are paying that kind of money to just flip the
Assuming that
deal,
some bigger fool will be
right?
available when the time comes for them to sell. Yeah.
So it's like it's one thing when you do it with a 500, $600,000 unit in downtown core, where you're gonna be able to rent it or there. I mean, at least up until very recently, there was a greater fool ready to just swipe that
Jump
thing
in.
up, right?
He paid 560. I got it for 620. Got
Which
a
is
deal.
which is crazy too, because that next level was supposedly an investor, right? So like you had this investor that came in that like bought it
Investor
knowing that
one,
he was never gonna fucking close on it and he was gonna flip it to another
investor two,
investor.
investor
Okay.
two. Yeah.
Right. And then I mean, I can't imagine. It's funny, okay, because in my head, before we were actually thinking about having stuff to talk about, I was thinking about because what I'm dealing with right now is like middlemen stuff, right? And I know you don't want to hear that because realtors, I mean, they're not middlemen, but they're like in the middle,
Intermediaries.
right? They're in the middle of things, TK. Okay,
They meddle.
they're in the middle. No,
They
but
meddle.
it's not
What
only
do you mean you're not gonna give
realtors.
you're not gonna give your kids equal shares on your will? What are you talking about? Come on, Bill.
No, but the thing is like there's all these pieces of like there's all these people and things in the middle of things that aren't necessarily helpful all the time, right? And so now we get into this where it's like you have it was a necessary evil for the market to work, for buildings to get built. We've talked about this a million times. Like you needed that guy that was willing to buy the piece of paper and planning to flip the piece of paper in order to get that building off the ground to get the construction financing, right? And so when we think about it a little bit more, we realize, hold on a sec, we needed a second dumb investor, or was he dumb? Is he like super risky guy? Was he smart? I mean,
Honestly, like at the time, like if you bought a property back in 2017 on assignment for $600,000 that the guy only paid $500,000 for, you probably could have sold it a couple of years later for $800,000.
right,
So it was the smart move. So it was just a lot of that. I think a lot has changed over that period of time. Now people are going to be a little bit more skeptical when they're going to go into these situations. They're going to analyze things a little bit deeper, right?
right.
So that's going to be a huge part to hopefully coming out of this, and we're going to have a lot smarter investors. But like people are burned, man. This is like we got the guy who's gotten the lawsuit there for the full price of his unit. Once people find out about that, they're going to be cautious to be defaulting on some of these. Like it's a really, really, really serious situation.
What should the people do?
What?
Yeah, like, comment, subscribe. I'm double subscribed. Do it yourself. Didn't get to fix the show, though. Didn't get to fix the show.
Well, but on top of all that crazy stupidity, just getting the thing built is, I mean, you got, it's one thing when it's 500 grand, right? And you put out
Mhm.
like 25 grand and that's your risk or whatever the number is, 50 grand. It's another thing to buy something in Forest Hill that's like, 1400 square feet, $2,000 a foot
That's a
and
thousand
not
square feet.
but
Yeah.
not be planning on moving into it.
Not have the money lined up in your back pocket. Yeah,
Right.
you should. There is categories, but again, people thought, well, I'm going to take a bigger risk. I'm going to take a better location. Like they thought, well, that's going to be my insulation,
The
right?
location.
And that's going to be something that's going to protect me. And you know
Yeah.
what? There isn't a way to protect yourself. This is a cruel world. I had my car stolen
Oh my God. How we,
recently,
there's a
right?
segue and a
And we'll
half.
and we'll get into that story, but it's a cruel world out there, people.
People,
You are
it's like
gonna you are gonna find out the hard way if
every
you
man.
just go into things with eyes closed, like you got to be really, really, really cautious out there.
Yeah, you gotta
Protect
be
your money,
careful.
protect your vehicle, protect your wealth, protect your reputation, protect your family.
Think
This is what
ahead a
it
little,
is.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Plan ahead.
there's a lot of people out there who are out to get you.
There's a lot of people, but I mean, look at all the stupidity out there to get, right? And so this
Yeah.
is the thing.
And
It's like,
realtors in these type of situations, right, are a big part of the situation. Is you got somebody who
oh my
trusts you.
God, yeah.
What was the situation I heard this week? It was the guy bought one unit and then he said, "Oh, you've already made this much money on your unit because their builder's selling it for this much money now. So let's go buy two more units." So then he went and bought two more units. Now they're all coming up to close and he can't close on any of them. The first one he actually did pretty good. He can almost close on that one right now. It was like,
Pretty good.
you could find a way to close on this one.
Almost.
It might be worth close to what he paid. Maybe he's
Ugh.
a little bit underwater.
Yeah.
But like the other ones that he bought, like just bankrupted him, like just bankrupted him. So I'm actually giving people the advice right now. Actually, no, I'm not giving people the
Not
advice
financial
right now.
advice.
I'm not giving them
No.
what they could do, which would be just to sell all their assets and hide and then just let the builders sue them afterwards so that they can't go bankrupt.
Go
I
to
don't give that
Vietnam.
advice. That
Yeah.
would be completely irresponsible. But there will be people who might have to do that where
Yeah.
they're in that, Daryl, that's the level of catastrophe here. We're not talking about somebody's going to lose, like I had people lose a line of credit, lose this, lose that, lose some inheritance money, all that kind of stuff. We're talking about bankruptcies. This
Yeah.
is what we're talking about. We're talking about somebody flat out has no more net worth, zero net worth. Assets, liabilities. Assets, liabilities.
Liabilities.
That's what it is. You're in
Yeah.
trouble.
You're in big trouble. But again, it's
trouble.
like, what was the thought process? Okay, first of all, there's not too many people that want to live in Forest Hill in only 1,000 square feet for that kind of bread. You know what I mean? Like, and then on top of it, it's like, how easy did you think it was gonna be to flip? So what was it? $2 million unit, right?
Purchase price
At-
2 million.
At
Now they're
any
trying
point in
to-
time. And so if you bought it for 2 million, you thought you're gonna flip it for 2.4 or something, 2.2, right?
Yeah.
Like you thinking you're making some kind of a spread on that gamble.
I don't know
right?
what spreadsheets you were looking at, but I got a client who called me this week because they had bought something years ago, pre-construction, and they had asked me, what's the status of it because they're outside of the country, right? So they're like, what's
Oh
going on?
no.
I gave them
What's the
Urban
status?
Toronto. I gave them Urban Toronto website just to follow the progress because they're always it's like the Reddit, right? So it's like people are just taking pictures of the site. They're just like,
Yeah.
somebody forgot their hammer there today. I wonder whose hammer that is.
Yeah.
Hey, I think it's the guy who fixes the crane. The guy, like, it's just so like in detail of every single thing going on the job site because people love to report stuff like that. So I said,
Yeah.
look, I can't give you enough information. Just check out it's that university in Dundas. I said, just check out Urban Toronto for all that kind of info. And he's like, well, what's going to happen? Like they said, it's going to be. I said, pray that thing
It
is
takes
not
forever.
built for another 2 or
Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah.
I don't know what they paid per square foot. Wasn't involved, but it was probably high teens. Okay, so probably 1,600, maybe something like that per square foot at a good location. I'm sure at one point someone would have tried to flip something like that for 2,000. But like, let's be honest here. When that thing's built, it's not worth any more than they paid. They're lucky if it's even worth what they paid. And that was like 2016, 2017 they bought.
And you're saying that even if they wait a couple years, like that's like gaining some back. I mean, there's probably a lot of people in the comment section are watching this thing thinking we're crazy that in a couple years from now it's going to be even worse than it is right now.
Well, a bottom line is right now it's, not good. So I guess you're just kind of taking a chance, right?
More not good.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Are you looking for the best merch store on the planet? Well, we got the shit for you. Coming in at low prices where we barely make any money off of whatsoever. you can get the greatest real estate merchandise on this platform. Just look at this very flamboyant man putting on this great stuff. He looks great, he's dancing great, and boy does he look sexy in that merchandise. I tell you, buy this for anybody, you buy this for yourself. You will be not only repping the greatest Canadian real estate podcast in this world, but you will also be looking hella good doing it.
Yeah, how are people deciding to I think I ask this every week. It's like, how do you decide to buy and sell right now? Like either side of the equation seems like not the best time for
No,
either. I guess if
it's
you're a buyer,
such a
it's
great
good.
time to move right now, Daryl. Trust me, it's such a great time to move right now. You just have to do it really carefully. We're starting to see a lot more condition on the sale of the buyer's property clauses. Getting those a lot now.
More
Those are,
conditions.
saying, hey, I'll buy your house, but only if I have an offer conditional on the sale of my house agreed on. So that way, if I don't sell my home, I don't have to buy your house, but we'll have an escape clause, 48, 72 hours. So if you receive an offer during that time, then you can, accept that offer and give me notice to firm up within that time period, right? That's the escape clause wording. But so we're seeing more of that. I think as somebody who knows the market, somebody who's really confident, selling first makes a lot of sense. I'm listening.
First.
I'm listing a couple condos lately. So I got a new condo there on the penthouse that was a
Yeah,
sold
what
together
happened there?
building.
You
So
did
I sold
sell
the
it?
one. Well, I sold
You
the
did?
one, yeah. And then the next one, he's got the same one in another building. So I just
Yeah,
listed that too. So
No
that's
way.
coming up in the market. So I'm already getting calls on
Did
that.
we get what we wanted for the first one?
No, we got
No.
what it was worth.
Right.
And
Got it.
then
How far off was that from what we wanted? I guess
um,
enough to get the next listing.
yeah. He understands. He knows what's going on. So I met another couple today. So another, like these people in their 60s, we'll say, right? They own a lot of real estate, right?
Mhm.
And they're doing fine. You know what I mean? Like they don't have
Mhm.
mortgages or they've got situations that allow them to figure it out. So I got another condo listing coming up now, and what I'm seeing is prices come down over the last like month specifically, right? Anything that's transacted recently is coming down from where it was even just a month ago, right? So
Mhm.
that people have to make those tough decisions in order to be able to make it work. So if you're a buyer and you're selling a house and going to a condo, for example, like have the confidence that the condo market's not going to get better. Sell first, get it sold, know how much money you've got, get as long of a closing as you can, and then
Long
go out
closing.
discount shopping. You're gonna have a lot of choices out there in the condo market. So I mean, what
Yeah,
a great
if you're
opportunity for someone like that.
downsizing to a condo from a house, fine. Like that might be
So fine. What about
the good
a upsize?
situation.
You want to go to a bigger home. So now I'm going to sell my average home, wait till I get it sold, and I'm going to go discount shopping on these luxury homes because no one's buying those either.
What's happening with homes right now? Like, are people buying?
There's a
A
lot less showings.
lot less
This one I
showings?
got in Scarborough, like barely any showings are coming in on it. I'm like, what's going on? It's such a beautiful house and it's priced low. And I'm like, oh boy. So,
Who boy,
but
that's
I
not
have a
good.
better story for you.
A better,
I have a
but
better story for you.
like
Okay.
the car store?
No, I'll tell you
Not,
the theft story of me listing my car on Turo, which if you
yeah.
guys know about, Daryl and I
His
have been talking about
Volkswagen
this for
Jetta
a
on
very long
Turo.
time, that this would be such a great idea, such a genius idea. But let me tell that story in a bit. Let me tell you
Yeah,
this story first,
this is a
because it's more
great story.
relatable to what I was just saying. Um, the so a friend of mine, okay, friend of mine, no real estate affiliations, just pure, friend. Talk to them about real estate sometimes, but they called me out of the blue to say, "Hey, my friend has their property for sale," and I was like, "Oh, like great!" Like I was thinking, like,
Dick. Why didn't you
no,
use
no, no, no.
me?
I was thinking like you're calling me to like, say how can I help because their agent screwed up. Like that would be a normal phone call that I would get
Mm-hmm.
in that type of situation. So I'm like, okay, well, tell me what happened. They says, well, they've got 3 offers on the property registered. I said, okay. They said, but 2 of them are their agents' friends. They're not real offers. And I
How
was
do they
like,
know
what?
this? How do they know this?
Because my friend's friend is telling them. They're
Hold
saying,
on a
look, we
sec.
don't actually have 3 offers. It's just my agent who's saying that they have these other 2 offers and that we're trying to get this other guy to be able to pay
Oh.
more. And she's telling her like best friend. And so her friend's calling me. And I'm like, well, that's
Good
not good,
strategy. Yeah.
right? Like that's not good. Like I mean,
Smart.
that's not very ethical. So I'm like, all right, well, what's going on? They said, well, we've got another offer. They've got another offer that's like over asking and it's got conditions or whatever. Like, what should we do? I said, well, look, if they go firm, I go, it's a better deal. So even if they've got to take a little bit less money, firm is better than having an inspection because you never know, they could change their mind tomorrow, whatever it is, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I think nothing of it. So I messaged them the next day and I said, hey, what happened? Did your friend sell or not? And they said, no, they were a liar. And I said, well, what do you mean they were a liar? And they said, well, they never even got the third offer.
What?
It was just
It's
like a
just
verbal offer from this other
no
guy.
way.
And I was like, who the heck have you hired? They're like, oh, this person sells like so many houses in the neighborhood. I'm like, oh my God. Like, what a nightmare that must be. So the friend's
Mhm.
all upset. Then they're asking me. So then they relisted the home for the same price, but just extended the offer date a week. Like they got no offers really the first time, but they're like, let's try that again. Let's see if we can trick people again. And so there's just a lot of desperation out there. Then so I go into my WhatsApp group in my on my team here, and I think I made a comment about it, and then someone else is like, "Yeah, I'm dealing with the same thing over here," and someone else says that there was some other issues. I couldn't really understand what they're talking about, but bottom line is the agents are getting a little bit desperate.
No
So like
shit.
well, I honestly like I'm very above board. Like I'm very like low risk tolerance type of real estate practitioner. I don't want to ever get in trouble. Like I just don't want to ever have any problems. And so I don't believe that a lot of agents are doing those things, and maybe I'm naive. But anyways, more and more right now are trying these type of situations and
Yeah,
these type of
because they
tricks
need the
or these type
deal
of
to
situations
close.
because they don't have any other options. They
They
are
have no
desperate.
other options. They're
Yeah,
desperate. This
they
is what I
are.
was talking
You gotta be
about
careful about the
before.
registered offer thing now. That's a big deal.
But it's the middle
We
guy
trust the
thing.
system.
It's the middle guy problem. It's the middle guy in who's generally right now, no matter
Yeah,
who they are, they're starving compared to what they're used to.
yeah,
So people tend to um, manipulate the situation into the way that can work for them financially the best. So, like,
yeah.
a mortgage broker will be like, you got to use this guy. You got to go to him. You're running out of time. You need, right? And somehow, they'll steer you towards the one that, it works for you, but it might just be a little bit better for them, or it'll close. It'll
So
close. And the same thing with realtors or whoever is in the middle. Okay. You got
yeah,
all these people with these
too
vested
many people in the
interests,
middle is
and
what
they're
you're saying.
dying, but they're
Yeah.
dying on top of it. So they're making stupid decisions of their own that are
Mm.
affecting their ability to
Think
consult
clearly.
and think clearly.
Yeah.
And so they might even think they're steering you in the best direction, right? Because they're so fucking delusional, because they're like literally
They're only looking out after their best interests. They're
they
only
got a
thinking about themselves. They're
yeah, but
blind to what their
yeah,
clients actually might need. Very normal in real estate.
they got a loan from the broker, they got a loan from a guy on the street, they're like they got nothing coming, right? And this is like not abnormal at all.
Hmm.
This is actually very normal. So there, if you got something close, right, and it
Yeah.
looks like it's not going the right way, people start doing some crazy shit.
Yeah. We had that deal, the broker out in BC who was like 10 years of doing mortgage fraud, and agents all got thrown under the bus as well with him. They got fines, license
Mhm.
revoked, like all that kind of stuff, which is awesome. That needs to happen more of. And I told you guys I don't really come across those type of buyers or mortgage brokers or scenarios literally ever. Well, I ran into one, I guess, earlier this year,
Yeah.
and I thought, wow, this is like, interesting how these people would be willing to do that at such a high purchase price with all that risk. In fact, they were willing to do a firm offer on a property that now I know they would be screwed because they called me back, right? I didn't talk to them for like a month or so. And they called me to say, oh, we gave money to the mortgage guy who was going to do all our paperwork, and now he's not answering our phone and he took off with the deposit.
Oh no.
And how do we report him? What do we do? Right. So I just gave him like the website for like the financial services people and said, like, this is what
Better
regulates
Business
those
Bureau.
people. And it's like, good luck.
You're
Like, what are you
fucked.
trying to say?
You're so
But
fucked.
this is what it is. Like, it's so, like, it's like all these things, like the house of cards is just crumbling for so many people. And you got 76% of agents doing no deals. Imagine what these agents are saying to people.
Yeah.
Imagine what people who's done no deals.
Right.
He's met 3 people in the last year who are even talking real estate with him, and now he's finally in front of somebody. Imagine the promises and ethics that are going to be, used and given in order to be able to try to secure that business, right?
It's crazy, and people
Yeah.
give these people jobs on top of it, right? And like
Yeah.
most brokerages don't have crazy training regiment and management and like
Zero.
most
Well,
of them are just a
if they
free
have
for all.
something, it's not mandatory. So they're just like, you should come. You should come, Jim. You, you,
No one
you should
comes, so
really
no one
come to our
holds you.
training so that you can get better. And Jim's just like, I did 3 deals back in 2017. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, fuck
Screw off.
you. Yeah.
You know, that's what it is, right? Like, so you just have that type of stuff where the continuing education is not
I'm a
enough.
closer. Fuck yourself.
I did it. I'm doing this course that I told you about this week, right? It's a
Yeah.
fantastic course. Honestly,
Fantastic course.
I was doing the course because the truth is, I thought one day they're going to have these certifications where each person's going to have specialties. And being the head of the commercial department, I better have whatever designation they're going to be required. So I said, this is like the
Probably a good
best.
idea.
This is the
Yeah.
best commercial designation in the world. I said, let's get that one. So I'm starting to go through it. I'm starting to look at the material. It turns out they got a lot of good stuff in there, Daryl. It turns out there's maybe a few things that I don't know and that I got lots to learn. And so I had a really, really, really great time in class this week. I got an exam on Sunday, and I'm happy I did it. I think
But
anybody should do it.
it was a course for commercial real estate, like from a realtor's perspective.
No, there's developers, there's planners, there's
What were you
investors.
learning? What are you learning?
This course was about market analysis, so how to be able to use like statistics to figure out like where you should build a building, where you should build an industrial building, where what type of absorption rates are there for certain things. Like it's super analytical, a lot of math. Like it's the most challenging course I've ever done. I mean,
That's
I'm
a
not a
middle thing.
genius here.
See, this is another middle thing where it's like there's so many people doing way too much math. It's like, stop doing all the math. Start building stuff for God's sakes.
Yeah.
If you saw these performers and if you saw these consulting reports, like the level, so I'm sure this is another one of those. It's like they pump out, lots of data to
Sure.
analyze.
Well, for example, if you're going to open up a retail plaza, you need to know like how much disposable income the area has in order to be able to spend on stuff like that. They got market data out there. Anyways, without taking the course, you wouldn't know the value of it. So don't worry. But that's what this one particular course was. But that type of stuff, I think, should be more mandatory. So then that way,
More mandatory.
on a realtor's
For
license,
sure.
Yeah.
Everything.
We do our training on our team, which is mandatory because of the system and the structure, but the brokerage structure is broken. And that we used to have a lot more courses. Now our continuing education, you can have your girlfriend or your boyfriend click the buttons, on the screen and you'll pass. And then you can be like, yeah, I did the course. So there should be a lot more like yearly, annual in-class courses that are being offered for everybody in Ontario who's got a real estate license.
I think if we're not thinking that realtors can get replaced by AI quickly, the brokerage definitely could be easily replaced by AI.
Yeah.
Right? They can make all the forms, all the clauses, make sure all the things are filled out properly. They could make sure all the licenses.
But who's going to answer the call at 11 o'clock because Jim's been drinking too much
AI,
and he's
that
trying to
sounds like Jim.
and he's trying to figure out. I called somebody. A real estate investor called me. They were calling about a bungalow in Oshawa, and it was like listed for 600. We sold it for 625, and they were like, "Do you think your seller would take 400,000? Like, what do you think? Like, this would be our offer would be. We've ran the numbers. We know exactly what it is. But anyways, long story short is when I called them back, they had an AI answering.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, we've reached, Tom and Sarah's investment company. And, they had this, AI basically take my call and I'm answering questions. And they're like, yeah. And it totally got everything wrong that I said. And I don't even know if they got the message in the end, but it definitely cannot replace a human being anytime soon with that system that they've got. I can tell you that much.
There is a lot of stuff.
I was like,
currently.
can they call me about 123 Main Street? And they were just like, yes, we can send you floor plans for the upcoming project.
Right.
I'm like, what?
Hi, you have reached TK.
So it's not
hi,
there
TK.
yet. It's not there yet. AI is not quite there yet to replace that. But of course, it's getting better and better. But the accuracy is severely. In fact, your errors and omissions insurance as a realtor, if you use AI, could be void.
could be void.
Could be
This is
void. So if you
crazy.
if I say to you, if I say, well, I
Should have
gave them a
cheaper.
if I gave them a an appraisal, an opinion of value, information based on X, Y, and Z, and I got it through Chat GPT, that's where I got my information. Then there could be in your errors and emissions insurance, which you should check into, that your insurance is void.
Wow, for
Yeah.
using AI, it's a
Yeah,
specific
because
thing in there.
you're relying on, providing information that's supposed to be coming from your own research, but you're just using some AI
A
platform that
research
basically
tool.
is supposed to be researching, but the accuracies aren't there yet. So, you know,
I'm flabbergasted, TK. I think
why?
that's asinine. Well, because I think a lot of
Errors
it
and
is
emissions
actually
insurance,
there.
they wanna cover their butts no matter what.
I'm in the process of writing a Substack article about appraisers and why they're not fucking algorithms already. And I think that's going to go over real well with some people and not so well with others. But the honest to God truth is like, look at the algorithms that they've created to know exactly what video you want to watch and when. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, like when I'm on TikTok at 4 in the morning, the videos are a little different than at like 10 in the morning. Okay. They know what you kind of into when, right? Like I'm getting all these crazy conspiracies
Aliens
and
and all that kind
aliens
of
and
stuff. It's
flat earth,
4
right?
a.m. Quick,
4 a.m.
tell them there's new evidence in the JFK murder.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And then at 10 in the morning, it's like stock market and real estate and
Yeah.
politics and everything. But okay, so they can make algorithms that can do all this stuff. How honestly, how hard would it be to really get AI to
Impossible. They've been trying and it doesn't work. And
no, they're
even
all dumb.
Jordan came on the show and tried to do it in one building. You got House Sigma, who's got their estimations that are always way off. Like literally, play with House Sigma. Go and look
Yeah, it's
at
nuts. It's
the
all based on
listing.
comps.
But go and look at one listing. Go and look
Yeah.
at one listing, and that has had it was previously listed. So maybe they terminated it or they sold it or whatever. Then start going through the listings, and each scenario will have a different estimated value.
Yeah.
The same house on the same platform has different estimated value just because, well, they terminated it last year for X, and then they bought it 2 years ago at Y. It's just based on an algorithm that's inaccurate. It cannot predict what the actual condition of the property is.
They can drive cars on their own with camera vision, TK. I can't
Mhm.
believe that there isn't a way to combine this tech into a fair, at least as accurate as some of these fucking appraisers, because these guys are off the wall too. They're a human. So it's like they can give you their reason and you can't just discount it because they got a license. Like, I don't even know how long it takes to get an appraiser's license. But the
Mhm.
honest to God truth is that, and I've seen it, I can show you one. You do an appraisal for Scarborough, and the lender needs the number down, and a fucking comp from Keel and Finch shows up in the damn thing, and it's like, how can you do that? Well, I did it. Oh, but and I work for CBRE, so like I know what I'm doing. So go shut the
Yeah,
fuck
I mean
up.
that's an extreme example. Maybe on some land
No, it's
deals
a
and stuff
real
like that.
example. It happened to me.
It's extreme
How
example what I'm saying.
extreme is it though?
It's extreme if you
If it
got,
happened to me, it's got to be
location variances that are that wide, right?
TK. Come
Listen,
on.
I'm trying to get to the
I'm an
story about how I
average
put my
dude.
car on Turo and it
Okay,
ended up
let's
in
get there. Let's
Montreal.
get there.
All
Let's
right?
get there. Let's just go
I'm
there
trying to get
now.
out the story.
Get it out. Get it out.
Is this what it
TK.
is? Is
Let the
this the
poison
time?
out. Let the poison out, TK.
So me and you have been talking about Turo for a long time. I've been talking with other people too. We're like,
I feel
man, these
like
Turo
you
guys, they're
have.
making money. No, we've
Yeah.
been talking about it.
I
Like,
know you've
just
been talking about it to me. Yeah.
we've been talking about people who rent cars out and make money from it, and
I
that
think at one
it's a
point,
business model.
yeah, we did
Yeah,
talk about buying a couple of cars and throwing them
absolutely.
on there.
That's all it was, right?
Yeah.
So eventually, I bought a new car, and it sits in the garage mostly, right? And I thought to myself, you should put
The
on Turo.
Lambo,
And yeah, it wasn't a Lambo,
not
but
a Lambo.
months go by, and I barely drive the car. And so finally, I make the time to write up the ad and take some photos and sign up and do all the things that they ask me. And I'm like, whatever. They suggest a certain price for me, and I say, well, that seems a little low. Like, let's jack it up a couple $100 a day. That way, I'm only going to rent it out if someone really wants it. You know what I
Really
mean?
wants this
Rent it
car.
out for a couple days or whatever it is.
Hmm.
So I'm like, okay, we'll see what happens. I put it on Wednesday night. Boom. Middle of the night, someone books it right away. Picking it up tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Yeehaw, right?
Yeehaw.
Couple days, pocket $500 after all the fees. They take
Yeah.
it, they come back. I'm thinking this is
You're
no problem.
sending me text messages bragging about how smart you were, and like, oh my
Genius.
God. Yeah.
I'm a genius. So the guy shows up, right? He's like a Middle Eastern guy, all Gucci'd out and all that kind of stuff. He's got a Quebec license, driver's license. I don't think anything of it. I think this is like a profile for the guy who would want to rent my car. It's a
They
nice
come
car.
to your
So I
house to do it? I guess
come
so.
to my
Yeah.
house. Yeah, we're in the driveway. We do all
Yeah.
this. We do the deal. Everything's fine. I say, good luck.
Why? What do you have to do?
Whatever. Take photos, check his ID, that kind of stuff. So long story short is I see him go downtown. Then the next morning, I see the car leave downtown. I got an app, right? There's an app on my phone to the car manufacturer's app that allows me to see everything. So then I see him driving to Montreal. The
How did you
direction of
know it was
Montreal.
Montreal?
The direction of Montreal, because he had a Quebec driver's license. So I caught. He was like in like.
no.
By the time I looked, it was like he was in like Toronto, like McCowan and 401, and then like 20 minutes later he's in like Durham, and then he's in Cobourg. So I'm like, okay, this guy's going to Montreal. Like he's going to go to Quebec. So anyways, he gets to Montreal. He's driving around. He's doing his thing. So I'm like, this really sucks because of the kilometers. Jeez, I never thought about this, right? Like there's a limit on kilometers, but he pays for extra kilometers, but they're still putting on all these kilometers. So I said, all right, well, I'm going to call my buddy who owns a big fleet, who kind of inspired me to do all this. He's like, yeah, you should buy nice
Bastard.
cars and put it on here. He's got like the best cars you can think of, the G-Wagons, the Lamborghini Ferrari. He's got that. He's got a luxury car rental business.
He's
So
like
I'm
a
like, all right.
pre-construction realtor, this guy.
So I'm like, okay, so I'll call him and get his advice on how to stop that. And I said, well, the guy took it to Montreal. And he said, call the police right now. So what do you mean?
What?
He goes, call Montreal police right now. He says, your car's being stolen. He
Your
goes,
car's
Montreal
being
is the
stolen.
port. He goes, they're taking it to the port. He goes,
Right
car's
to the
gone.
port.
He
Yeah.
goes, the car's gone. To call the police right now. Tell them to go find your vehicle and tell them where it is. And I'm like, geez, that seems intense. He goes, text the guy who borrowed it and see what happens. So I text him like, hey, don't, get like, this type of gas and da 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 da. But also I noticed that the gas was almost empty. And because of the like engine type, if you run the gas down too low, it can run out of gas easy. You don't want to let it run down too low, right? So I said, hey, make sure you get gas in it soon. Like,
Yeah.
and make
Lambos
sure you
are
get this type of
finicky.
gas. It's not a Lambo. So then I'm like, this is weird. He's like, we're almost about to run out of gas. And then I'm following it. I'm tripping out at this point in time. Montreal police says they can't do anything. Turo says they can't. They said it's due tomorrow. You can't
my
actually
God.
report it stolen. It's not due till tomorrow.
Yeah, nothing
Okay.
happened yet.
So I'm like, okay. So then he pulls into a gas station. I'm like, oh, thank God. He gets $20 worth of gas. He
Got to
goes
get
from
to the container,
1%
right?
gas to like 8% gas. I'm like, oh no, this is a doomsday.
It's gotta
So
get to the
anyways,
chop shop.
he goes and drives it to a Walmart parking lot and he unlocks the doors and he leaves it there. So I'm watching and unlock doors. So I'm like, shit, this is the pass off, right? So I lock the doors, right? I can use the app. I lock the doors. So then I'm like, what can I do? I know, I'll find a flight to Montreal. So I start looking for flights for Montreal. Can't get a flight.
No, hold on. Didn't you call a tow truck first?
No, yeah, no. I looked for the flight. I'm ready to fly there. That was my solution. So then I said, okay, if I can't get the flight,
You could drive there fast.
then what I'll do is I will call a tow truck in the area and have them go pick it up. I haven't talked to Toronto police yet at all. Talked to Montreal, they wouldn't do anything. Toronto wouldn't do anything. So I called a tow truck. I said, my car has been stolen. Okay, at this point in time, the guy hasn't texted me back. So I'm thinking it's been stolen. Then he texts me back, goes, oh, what, huh? And he gives me some gibberish. He goes, empty? Hold on, let me call you back in 10 minutes. Or let me get back to you in 10 minutes. Half an hour, 45 minutes goes by, he's nothing, right? Then he texts me back and says, what's your address and your phone number? I'm like, oh, good, he's going to like come back now. Like he needs my address, So like I called the tow truck, told him that it was stolen, told him that I'd send him on my ID to go pick it up at the Walmart Plaza. And I figured maybe I'm wrong and the guy's mad at me, but hey, I'm going to go get my car. So then I called the tow truck. I said, wait, chill. Because this guy just messaged me to say, what's my address? I said, just hold off a second. 5 minutes later, Toronto police calls my phone. Your car was reported stolen by the guy who took it. He's still in Toronto with the keys. He says it was stolen from him at this location, which I remember on the map. It was downtown, right? That's where he stayed the night before. So he said basically, I haven't seen it all day. It was in the garage. Now I came back 12 hours later that I know it left. And he still has the key because they copied the key, right? I know all this.
They can
So then I
copy
said,
the key.
yeah, he just copies the key, right? So anyways, bottom line is I told the cops, call me back. I'm busy. And I called back the tow truck company. I said, go get it right now. They started heading towards the Walmart. They moved it from Walmart to another location, a street around the corner. So then I called the tow truck again. Now it's at this address. Go get it. And within 10 minutes, they were there. And I shut off the alarm, opened it up for them. They grabbed the truck. They grabbed the car. They put it on a tow truck, towed it to their impound. And on Monday, they shipped it back to me. I got it
Oh
shipped
my
back, and I got my
gosh.
car. It's at the dealership right now, getting the key changed and all that kind of stuff. And
Oh
I'm
my
never
God,
using
what a
Turo again.
nightmare. What a
Yeah.
nightmare. How
No.
much did it cost you to deal with all that shit?
I still got paid the income, and they're going to give me some compensation, but everything is like all covered through Turo. They pay for everything.
Oh
I
my
think they paid
gosh.
1,700 for the tow back, 900 for the storage. It'll be like a nice
Wow.
$2,000 bill at the dealership.
How often does this happen on
Talking
Turo?
to the guy on Turo, he was like, "This is the scam."
This
So it's
is
like they
the
use a real ID, a
scam.
real driver's license. But the best part is they're gonna ding the guy's car. They're gonna ding his card because he was the renter and this happened. They're gonna
Yeah.
bill him a whole bunch of stuff
This is the
because he
dumbest
didn't return it.
idea.
So he's gonna lose thousands of dollars, and they never actually got the car
So, but I don't understand if this is the scam and it's
yet. Yet,
happening
because they have my
regularly.
address. It's yet. He doesn't have it yet. Knock on wood.
No, but how does this work? Like you have to give your email, you got to give your address, you got to give your
Because he
credit
claimed it's
card.
stolen. He doesn't know anything. He goes, "I was
Right.
just stolen from me. I don't know what
Right.
happened
I
to
have the
it."
card. I'm
And the
sitting
guy was a
here.
big fat guy because the chair was all the way back and there's M&Ms all over the floor. The guy who drove
Oh,
it to Montreal.
this is a
Slob.
nightmare.
I
How's
know.
a fat guy
Well,
fit in a
anyways,
Lambo?
rental properties, great investment. Are you a real estate agent and you're looking to make a change? Anywhere in Ontario, guess what? We're hiring. Franklin Associates, #1 team in the GTA for all REMAX teams, #1 team for all teams from all companies for number of units sold throughout Toronto. So if you're looking to make a change, best decision I ever made was to join Franklin Associates. Go to jointeamleo.com and we can set up a call.
Well, I
You have some
mean,
tenant issues. You'll have some issues, all that kind of stuff. Renting cars, I tried it. Don't do it. I saved everybody some time and energy. Not
well,
worth
hold
it.
on. I mean, the insurance for sure would have, like, you would have not been left out of pocket from this. You would
Yeah,
have
but
had
it's
a
not a
pain in the
money maker.
ass.
It's not a money maker.
Can't even make any
Renting your
money, right?
car.
If it's a, yeah, this
Bad
is
idea. Anyways, I tried it. Everyone told me it was such, it's a genius way to make money and that you can, profit or you can, pay your bills or whatever. Oh, your car just
isn't
gets stolen. All right.
it,
So don't do it.
isn't this a lot of people's experience on Airbnb? Like they put it up and some asshole throws a party or shoots a
Yeah.
porn
Yeah.
video or something and
Yeah. Yeah.
destroys the
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
How come the couch is all greasy? Like what happened here? Right? What is all
I
this
know.
grease all over?
All right. Well, back to real estate. Back to real estate. Airbnbs is the same thing. Listen,
thought
I
I
don't care
did
about the
bring it
car.
back.
You don't put your prized possession on there. The car I literally bought not as a prized possession. I'm not attached to it in any way. Airbnb, you better not be doing that with your grandma's house or something like that.
Well, listen, if it was your other car, you would have let them take it.
No, either way, I'm not attached to cars, man. Trust me. I'm not that kind of guy
I
where
would
I'm
have let
like,
them take it for sure. It's way easier than what you were doing.
yeah, I'm not attached to it. But the bottom line is,
That's
with
crazy.
Airbnb, you're not going to do it with a property that you really care about, just like anything else.
But people do. They put where they live there, and then they go to Florida for 2 months. They rent out their house to some weird people that come and do God knows what there, and then they
That's
come
a little bit
back.
different when you get families and stuff down there. But if you got a city Airbnb, like, come on, we know what's going on over there. Wasn't there another shooting recently, or wasn't there something else that just
What?
happened recently?
Oh,
What
at
was
the
the,
Aura, there was a shooting. They sent in the army brigade.
was it?
That's the one that I know of. But I mean, just Toronto. God knows what's going on out there these days. Have you seen the people praying in the streets and how many of them there are right now?
What are they praying for?
They're praying for Allah, I would imagine.
Okay.
It's a lot of prayers going on. So you got Mayor Chow coming out this week saying we're going to start billing the construction companies way more money for blocking the streets. And then you see everybody's responses like, but what about all these people fucking up all the traffic with their prayers right now downtown?
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. People are taking over the train stations, the bus stations,
Hey,
the
praying?
big public squares. I guess they're praying. I don't know what else they're up to.
Maybe just for like Ramadan. Maybe it's just like a couple days. Get over it.
Everybody's just fucking weird, and everybody's just really angry now. You know,
Yeah.
it's like it's a different vibe going on right now. People are
Did you did
stressed
you
the
did you hear
fuck
about
out.
the tariffs? The tariff war.
The tariff war that nobody knows which way things are going and when
Oh
and
man.
what is
China
happening.
versus USA. Wow.
What a battle.
How are they going to order their computer parts and their, you know, $2 pairs of, baby clothes and socks and all that stuff from Temu and AliExpress.
Yeah.
It's gonna collapse the US economy.
Well,
Holy
what,
smokes.
well, I don't know if I don't know what it does, to be honest with you. What does it do? So I was
It
talking the other
it
day.
completely destroys half of the just-in-time manufacturing processes all over the United States,
Well,
right? If China's got those type of tariffs.
I was watching this girl who started her own business,
Yeah.
and for whatever reason, like her main like purchase was from overseas. So she bought her
Yeah.
inventory from China,
Yeah.
and while it's on the water, paid for,
Yeah.
the tariff war is going on.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's like
Double the
her
price.
merchandise is more
Yeah.
than double the price, and she's like, "Well, now what? Because
Yeah.
I barely had that first 30 grand. I definitely don't have another 30 grand.
Yeah.
Now what?"
And that's her government. That's a U.S. government imposing tariffs on their own people. And it's like midway through well, she didn't have a choice. There wasn't like an option to find, buy an American product.
No, but
And the
make it at
Chinese,
least
think about the other stuff they're talking about. They're talking about like delisting Chinese companies from the
stock market.
stock market. The
Yeah.
Chinese companies are talking about uh, lifting all of the um, like patents and stuff like that. So international patents. So if you've got an American product, the Chinese will
Yeah.
just be like,
Not that they
produce it. We
cared
don't care.
before. Yeah.
Well, sure, but now it's going to be basically like encouraged. Hey,
Yeah. Not only
want to make
that.
iPhone? Just start
Yeah.
making iPhones. Call it
Yeah.
spy phone,
No, they're gonna do like Excels and Word,
right?
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 And they're gonna make PowerPoint,
Yeah.
right? Like
This is
this is the thing they got to
what
be afraid
a
of,
strategy. Like they're
right?
really, really, really doing some low blows here. And then Canada, like I'm pretty sure we retaliated.
We're the dumbest fucks in
But
the whole
but
thing. In
but
the whole
but
thing.
it seems like we're going to be just like grouped into the group of people who didn't retaliate.
Well, there's only two people in the group. It's
Because
us and China.
no,
No,
but I
not
feel
that
like
didn't retaliate.
no, but I
Oh,
feel like the 10% tariff or whatever tariffs that they were going to add on aren't going to be added on anymore. And the only tariffs we're going to have is on steel and aluminum and then the automotive stuff.
that's pretty major stuff for us.
I understand. But
Yeah.
the other tariffs that were blanket tariffs on all the other countries
Yeah.
that we were
Oh,
going to
that's
get,
nice. Yeah.
we're not getting those either. That's
Well, that's
my
nice.
interpretation of it.
Yeah, there's a few interpretations going around. I'm not sure
Yeah.
which is correct, and I don't even think they know which is correct. It's all stabs in the dark and hoping he doesn't change things.
Yeah.
But um,
As of Friday, 2:25 p.m.,
we
right?
still
A
don't
couple
even have
days
a clue
before this episode is aired,
before
um,
Passover.
we believe that the tariffs in Canada are only going to be on aluminum, steel, and some non-exempt automobiles.
I feel like I
That's where we're
just
at.
finished reading that the 10% is being added to us because we're fucking idiots and we are doing reciprocal tariffs.
Yeah.
But I'm not
Okay.
sure. But
Okay.
how did you hear
He
that
hasn't been
China?
talking about Canada much in the past couple of days.
Well, but and China put 100% tariff on Canada. Some shit from Canada. I don't
But
even know
we had slapped them with a bunch of tariffs last year, so they're kind of just
for
like
EVs.
we're gonna just be able to retaliate on some of those.
We're like those balls in the middle of the hungry, hungry hippo game, Canada.
Yeah.
We're just getting fucking thrashed around all over the place.
I
by
think it's
a
good for
bunch of
Canada.
hippos.
I think it's good for Canada. Right now, we got to start looking to
Feel good.
diversify. We can't be constantly stuck in this path of, under the mercy of the US or China or any other country. Canada's got to look at internally. We've got, a population, our GDP, is big enough to be able to have a lot of interprovincial trade. Then we're going to have a lot of people that are going to be able to start looking across both ponds, you know what I mean? Other parts of Asia, other parts of Europe and stuff like that to start looking at trade there. The cheapest form of transportation's by ship. You know what I mean? So it's like there's products out there like that are not going to be what are they called? like fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. So perishable, non-perishables that we could be doing business with in other parts of the world. Figure out what we can make, stick it on a shipping container and ship it there.
But there's reasons why we haven't done it already, right? Like it's not like this is an
Well, because
idea
there was a better option.
new. There
That's a
was a
better
better
option.
option.
There was
Well,
a
but
better
that's
option
the
where we could say we can
thing.
move our product at the price we want south of the border. But now if we can't, they'll have to go and explore other options.
No, but I don't think that it was a better option. It was an easier option, and on top of it was a bunch of corrupt motherfuckers making
Sure.
sure that that's the way that things
But
went.
instead of
Okay,
sending money to Ukraine, we can send them things. We can send them maple syrup. We can send them baby
sell them. Why we gotta
sell
send it?
sell them. I meant to say sell them. Sell them maple syrup. Sell
This
them
is the
baby
problem.
formula. Sell them things that they actually do need, right? And ship it to them and be like,
Sell
here
it.
you go, guys.
Yeah,
Here's a
if you
great
want
price. The
it.
same price we were selling it to the Americans before.
Right. So, but
Right.
in the middle of the whole, was it COVID or I don't remember what was going on, but I remember that Europe wanted to buy. Yeah. Do you remember when the United States allegedly blew up Nord Stream 2 pipeline or the Nord Stream pipeline? And all of a sudden, Europe needed more natural gas from somewhere, somehow, desperately, so they didn't freeze in the winter. And we just said, like, no, no,
We can't get
said
it
the
to you.
Quebecers, we can't get
Yeah.
it to you. We don't want to try, and we're happy with how things are. So
Yeah.
Trump or somebody like Trump would have said, "Oh, these guys are desperate, and we have excess supply. This is an opportunity to make money for the populace, the people of Canada. We're gonna sell the shit out of this LNG. We're gonna get it there, and wow, what a great idea. Let's actually do something smart and make some
Mhm.
money." But no, what do? No.
You know what? Quebec, when you look at it, right? Like the Maritimes has been cut off basically from the rest of the developed Canadian
Yeah,
provinces.
they're real fucked.
And it's because Quebec is in the middle. You know, that's the real issue here is we've got to solve the Quebec problem. That's, I'm not anti-Quebec. I love Quebec. I think it's a great place. It's unique. It's cultural. It's got all these great characteristics that if you want to go there, you can, drink when you're 18 and you can, go and, skate on their rivers and stuff like that. But really, we
Maybe
need to
we should
figure out
be
politically how much power Quebec actually has over the benefit of the whole country. And I think that needs to be reviewed a little bit here.
we act like more like the European Union. We act more like different countries.
Mhm.
Quebec makes a hell of a lot more sense. And actually, now that I think about it, so same with the Maritimes. If they were different countries, they're different people. Okay, like they're
Mhm.
totally different. Okay, they're not the same as people from Ontario who seem to be similar to people from British Columbia, but maybe not. I guess if you ask people from British Columbia, they'll say,
They probably don't like us too much.
yeah, they don't like us that much. So, but the point is we're better than Quebecers, and the people out east are really strange. That's the truth, TK.
They've
And I'm
got
gonna,
there's
they're weird out
characteristics
there.
that they have that we don't have. There's a
Their
little
eyes
bit
go
of
different
differences.
ways.
There's a little bit of difference.
They have less
There's
teeth.
softer, nicer people out there.
Well, they have
know,
to be.
There's softer, nicer people out there.
That's
But
right.
I think
Softer.
Quebec's got some issues that they got to solve. We got so we talked about this maybe a little bit. We didn't talk about it too much, which the OSFI changes. So I don't know if you looked into the OSFI changes that they were talking about and what the difference would be. Do you understand it?
I don't know. I feel like did we finish the
stress
last
test.
topic? Okay,
What was
so
the
now
last
we're
topic?
on this. I don't know. We were talking about tariffs, I think, and interprevent. No, it doesn't matter.
We don't
Okay,
know what's going to
OSFI.
happen with the tariffs. Nobody does. Everybody knows that. You can talk about it ad nauseum. We
Right.
don't know what
I
tomorrow is
think
going to bring.
you brought them up, but that's okay. So what
The
would you like to
tariffs?
talk about now? Yes.
No,
Well,
now
what
we're
are we
going to talk
on
about
now, TK?
OSFI.
OSFI.
Dropping the stress test.
Is this a thing? I
Yeah.
didn't even hear this.
Well, there you go. That's why I'm trying to share it with you.
Wow, that's a opener. That's a real estate topic. We should have talked
Yeah.
about that before the
I'm
nonsense.
sorry. I had to talk about my car getting stolen
Your car, yeah, you're squeezing all kinds of stuff into this one.
and the corruption of the people not getting their mortgage. Got my mortgage fraud people, and I got the fake offers. I got all sorts of stuff.
Fake
today.
offers,
Okay,
mortgage
so
fraud.
OSFI is
stolen
basically
cars.
now going to be studying. It's like over the next year,
Oh.
where they're going to remove the individual stress test
A study to remove it.
qualifications.
a study to
They're at
see
least
if they
taught. They're
should remove it.
Yes, and they're going to pass it on to the institutions, pass it on to the lenders. So now the banks will be the ones who their portfolio is stress tests. So it's a certain percentage of their portfolio will allow a certain indebtedness of borrower to be borrowing money. So I think it's up to 15% of their entire portfolio will be allowed to have people who have more than 4.5 times their income in mortgage debt, right? So it allows them to still give some people more debt, right? And it allows to give them more flexibility, especially with somebody who doesn't have a lot of debt, who's got a lot of high income, and then they're really strong borrowers. Like it makes sense. Like this person's really strong, they're good for it. It allows
Right.
them to increase their debt service ratios up and above what other maybe borrowers would be able to get. So it
But
just
those
opens the
guys
door
have
for
good
really
credit.
strong borrowers, really
Strong
strong.
borrowers, they have good credit because they don't borrow as much as they can.
Sure, but when you're going to co-sign for your kids to be able to buy a property,
Right.
then you'll do anything to make them happy. So, anyways, it opens the door a little bit. It's a step in the right direction, and it's not even a guarantee.
It's
But at least they're
study.
talking about it because the stress test now seems a little bit redundant. It seems like,
So
well,
we've
what do you
been
mean you're stress
studying
testing me
it.
at 5.25, and yet I'm getting my mortgage at 5.25 or close to that.
We'd like to announce that we've been studying the idea of removing the stress test, and we've decided that from studying this, we are going to produce a study for somebody else to study who will
Let us
likely
know.
let us know if we need more studies. PK. It's another one of those, is it?
It's potential to be one of those. Yes.
Well, this should be dealt with just in time to save the market whenever the hell that comes about.
Well, I
So,
think
Oscar,
the biggest threat to the banking
waste.
industry is the construction loans.
Ripple? Oh,
The construction loans. It's on the commercial side,
it's
right?
on the commercial
It's
side.
on the
Yeah,
commercial side.
no
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Not only that, like, well, yes.
These are major loans out there, right? Like I was sitting next to somebody in this course who's a manager for a fund of industrial properties, and they were talking about the building they just sold for 44 million, and they got a certain amount of debt on the property, and that the mortgage penalty because of the bond markets had dropped the exact moment that they were closing, which meant that they were breaking their mortgage at a certain time, and it's the difference, the penalties based on the difference between the current rates and the rate that you've got
No
under contract.
assumption, no assumptions.
And it was at the lender's sole discretion, so it was they got to choose basically what it was, and it cost them like an extra couple $100,000 in the penalty, right? But you're talking about tens of millions of dollars, right, in a loan, and so when you start having those loans default, right, across the country because the industrial market's not doing so well, multifamily market's doing okay, but we'll start seeing cracks in that
Really?
eventually.
Yeah. I was talking to a guy yesterday, and he
The
was
land,
like, we're starting to hear rumors.
yeah,
Big guys, medium guys. We're
yeah.
starting to hear rumors all over
And
the
there's a lot
place.
of multifamily coming on the market the last
There's
2 weeks. I can
lot
tell
of,
you that
yeah.
much. We know the situation with the land market, but a lot of the big lenders weren't involved in those deals anyways, right? A lot of A lenders weren't doing those big speculative land deals
The
because
land's a
you couldn't make sense
specialty.
of it.
Yeah.
So the banks and then the pre-construction construction loans, like I mean, these 100-200 million dollar loans to build these buildings.
Yeah.
These guys are, are going to be going under receivership if enough people default and they're not able to complete the project and pass the keys to the owners.
Yeah.
So the banks will be the ones on the hook there. So there's Canadian banking system, not that I've got the history all memorized, but I don't think that there's been a moment in time where it's been under more pressure and stress in the last
No.
30 years. Yeah.
I'm trying to like relate this time and this feeling to another time that I've been through. And I don't know. Like I definitely feel like something's coming, but we've been feeling like this for a while.
Should we do a bank run? Should we do a bank run? Should we just take out all the cash from the bank? Should we organize a bank run?
I don't
Which
know.
bank do we want to take down, guys?
We should do
Organize a
something.
bank run. Just tell them we want our money.
It's scary when you hear rumors about big players, right? Like it's one thing to hear about the One and Mizrahi, because I mean, those who know kind of saw that thing coming a mile away. Okay.
Yeah.
But like when you start hearing, I mean, I can't name any names, mainly because I don't know any, and the guy didn't name any names. But this guy is like, this guy is right in there with everybody. He's a big time player in the
Mm.
land space, especially, and like he said, like they're getting nervous over there because they're hearing some nutty shit. And like I've mentioned it numerous times, the list that I have of the guys out there that have a lot of stuff going on and
Mm.
nothing going on
Is
right
that list
now.
growing? Is that list growing?
No, because it's the same guys, right? I
They're
mean,
involved in different deals.
listen, I'm sure that the list should grow, but this is a list from years ago where I said, I'm just going to watch these guys' sites and see, because when things go upside down, these
Yeah.
guys are
They
going to
don't
be
make any sense.
swimming naked, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Even like, especially of late. Okay, can we talk about, are you good with your OSFI stuff?
Yeah. I think I'm satisfied with
So,
my
so I,
report on OSFI.
that's good. So
Yeah. Thanks
thank
for
you
your
for your
contribution.
summary. Appreciate that.
Thank you for your
Uh,
contribution.
what was I saying? Oh, rents. Okay,
Yeah.
so rents are coming down in most provinces, in most
Yep.
cities, major cities in Canada, and well, so who does this matter to, and how many people does it matter to? It matters to people that are building new purpose-built rental for sure, that were planning on booking a certain amount of rent, right? And really needed it in order for the numbers to work. Who else is it affecting? It's affecting the people that bought condos to rent out
Mhm.
downtown Toronto, right?
Yep.
But like, is it affecting the person who has owned the property for more than 6 years? Like, because didn't that
Um,
guy go through a crazy upward swing in rents only to have them come down a little tiny bit now? And so, like, if you were even able to get those rents on the way up, how many people are renewing right now that they're like, I don't know, 6, 8, 9% lower? How many people does this lower rent thing really affect? And I'm not saying that there's no effect. I'm just saying, like, who is actually burdened by this drop?
Probably less people, because most people it's like either I'm down 1,000 a month or I'm down 1,200. Like, what's the big deal? But why don't we think about the positive?
Well,
That's
who are
actually
those
gonna
people, though?
well, the people who are like bought any condo over the last 5 years, resale or not, were underwater because
But
it
aren't we
hasn't made
just
sense to
okay?
buy a condo for a long time.
But aren't we just fine with all those dummies just getting wiped out and, like, bringing in a new breed of not dummies? Or do we
Yes.
want those people to, like, come back? Do we need those
Um,
people? Do we
I would
need the
say
dummies?
I would say we need some dummies in the market. Yeah,
We
unfortunately.
need those
Yeah,
dummies.
we need a few dummies. It always makes sense.
Can't
So
we just make the
year over
system
year
smarter?
change, year over year change, $200 a month. Yeah, not much.
I saw like 6%, 8%, not insignificant, but like
Yeah,
uh
nothing
it's a
crazy.
story and people
Yeah,
are talking about
but
it.
it's
And it's like a
noticeable when I see
thing.
it. I see it in some buildings. I see, last year leased for 3,000, now it's leased for 2,900. Like I've seen examples of that in some places. So I definitely feel like that's going to be there. But you're right. It's not a major impact for the landlord, but it would be nice for the tenants to get an extra couple $100 off every single month, don't you think?
It depends on if I own it or I don't own it, TK,
Well,
quite honestly.
sure. Oh, good,
Right?
good. That's an honest answer.
It's an
But
honest
as a
answer.
tenant, I'm
That's what you
sure
get.
you would want to pay less if you were to choose between 2,000 and 2,200. I'm sure you'd rather pay 2,000. And in
A
the new
hundred
buildings,
percent.
when you got 30 options, if I was a tenant, you know what I would do? I would tell the landlord, I would say, hey, give me like, look, I'll pay your rent. I'll pay your monthly rate that you want, but give me a couple rental months free, right? Or whatever, negotiate something like that. So that
Yeah.
way, at the end of the term, we go right back to paying the rent that we had agreed to, and then we can add in 2.5%. And then at the end of the year, just look at your situation and say, do I want to stay or do I want to go? If you feel like there's a
But
better
most
deal out
people
there,
don't want
take
to
it.
move every year. Like,
Well,
that's
I'm
a
trying to
real
give
pain in the
advice
ass,
here
right?
on how to get a better deal, not on how to make your life easy. You can probably find
Right.
a unit on the same floor if you go to a newer building, right?
Hmm.
Probably find another unit in the building to move
Yeah,
to.
plenty.
Also negotiate after a year. I had a friend message me about a rental situation that they ended up finding a place. They ended up moving, sorry. But they asked me this, well, my landlord wants to increase the rent. And I looked into it and it was already a decent rent. The landlord wanting to increase it was like maybe a little bit below market still, but nothing crazy. But most people are going to be in situations where if they've did rent over the last 2 or 3 years, their rent might actually be higher than market. And maybe they had their 2.5% every year, and so they paid it. But now when they look at what their rental fee is and what the actual market rent is, you actually could be paying more. So go back to your landlord and say, hey, look, I'm about to move into a cheaper unit. Here's the listing. Here's the examples. These are the places I'm going to go look at. This is what you're going to be competing against once I leave. You're going to have to clean the unit. You might have to repaint. You might have to change things, whatever it is. I want to know if you're willing to offer me a concession. Or, would you be willing to match market rent right now? So I stay and I'll sign another year lease with you. You're muted. You're muted. I'm sure what you said was great though. But that would be something that
Why,
a
why does it
sophisticated
keep
tenant
doing
should
that?
be looking at.
Well, okay. So again, like who, if you bought a condo to rent out in the last 4 or 5 years, you're dumb and you should be dealt with appropriately. So who really does this affect? Because we're talking like 6, 8%. Okay. And I mean, even the guy who the tenant gets wise and goes, "Oh shit! Like the market's down, I can get better rent from this guy." Even if that guy's expecting his 2.5 or 3% bump, and he loses 5%, like unless he was one of the morons that bought in the last 4 or 5 years, who needs that top rent every year to like break even at some point in the next
Yeah, to not
decade,
loses. Yeah.
right? Like it's like
Yeah. I
who's
guess it
really
depends on how much you like your tenant. If you really like your tenant, you want them to stay, they're not causing you problems. If you have a clear picture. So if you're a landlord now and your tenant asks you this and you see that they're right, you got a good tenant. They're willing to sign another year lease with you. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Maybe what you can do is offer them the deal that I offered that I was just talking about. Say, look, we're gonna do the same rent. Let's sign a 1 year lease. We'll do the same rent, but I will give you a month's rent credit. Like figure out the math on it. You know?
yeah, yeah.
So then at the end of the year, you guys can sit back down and look and reassess what the situation is. Did the rents go back up? Are they down? But
Yeah.
make sure that the tenant feels reasonable about it.
Well, and so, but you got like D Trent and people like D Trent saying that rents are crashing and the world's coming apart. And
Okay.
then I saw Foch put something up that, he thinks that based on the numbers now, we're overbuilding purpose-built rentals. So now it looks like we're going to have a flood. And that's based on permits. And that doesn't mean all these buildings are going to get built, but
Yeah.
I guess they technically you lose your permits now in a couple of years if you don't start building. So
Well,
maybe they
these are going to
do.
be cycles that we go through. I mean, the bottom line is long term, we need to add more people. We had 250,000 people move to Ontario. You got 150 plus thousand people moving to Toronto every single year. Our birth rate's decreasing. We don't have that natural ability to be able to, replenish the population. We've got to rely on immigration, right? That's the way it's going to be. Our immigration policies have been pretty loose. I imagine they'll start to tighten up, but I don't think it's going to be anything noticeable. You know what I mean? I think that you'll still have a steady flow of people immigrating to Toronto. You're going to have a lot of people constantly from other parts of Canada. Once they get to age, are going to say, well, why do I still want to live here in Winnipeg when I can move to Toronto and have a better life for different reasons? So I do like I agree maybe they're overbuilding based on like the current demand, but I don't think it's possible for us to overbuild for the long run and in any way, shape, or form inside Toronto.
Inside Toronto. So
Inside
the
Toronto. Yeah.
so the
You put some buildings up in Brantford or whatever, like
well,
you might
that's a
have some
different story.
problems.
Yeah.
But
So
as
but are
far as
we
inside Toronto goes, we need to continue to push density more and
but
more.
are we absorbing the units that, we have sitting out there? There's how many
We will. We
thousands
will
out there
absorb them at the right price.
at the right price
Yes.
before the next wave of them comes on the market
We will absorb every unit in Toronto
at the
for
right price
infinity and
at
beyond
some
at the
point
right
in
price.
time. At
Yes.
some point in time.
Yes.
Well,
Yes, that
can
will
we
never be an
hold you
issue.
to this, TK? Can we
Yes, you
hold
had
you to this
mark your
prediction?
calendars on this day
This
at
is the
this
date.
time in this video. TK said that.
TK said nothing. Well
Yeah.
done, sir. Well, that's a prognostication for the ages. That's for sure. At some point
Yeah.
in time, at some price, something's gonna sell, baby.
Something will happen. Don't worry.
Something will happen. I foresee that at some point in the near future, I will sell something to
To
somebody.
somebody.
I can
Thank you, Daryl.
guarantee that.
And we
Well,
will continue to do this show, and we appreciate you guys' support. Every single week you're here, you're listening. I don't know why,
I don't know why.
but we love to hear you guys in the comments. Tell us everything about it, what you like, what you don't like, how much you hate me, how much
Yeah,
you love Daryl.
that's
We're
right.
just eager to hear that every single week, and
That's
that
right.
the fact that you're listening and commenting tells us more than we need to know. So, thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you next week.
Bye bye.